cheated and got caught. That post from President Trump just minutes ago on Truth Social, after posting last night that he has ended trade talks with Canada. Both of these messages come just days before he'll meet with Prime Minister Mark Carney in Asia for the APEC summit. The president cites the following ad as the reason for both of these posts.
Rejecting protectionist legislation and promoting fair and free competition. America's jobs and growth are at stake.
So where does this leave Canada now? Here to help answer that is trade expert Ian Lee from Carleton University's Sprott School of Business. And we should point out, Ian, just before I get your thoughts of what termination actually means, that was an ad that was posted by Ontario Premier Doug Ford's team. It is running in America right now. It uses the voice of former President Ronald Reagan. The Ronald Reagan Foundation says these comments are out of context. This leading to the frustration from the president and that tweet moments ago saying we cheated and got caught. He is angry. He has said these talks are terminated. Does terminated mean over?
And Marie, you've asked all the most important questions of all.
I always do, Ian.
You do. And this is really the big enchilada. Are we going to have a trade agreement with the United States, which I believe and many people believe is absolutely essential? And it looked like we were on the cusp of signing a deal between Prime Minister Carney and President Trump's administration. So this blow up is incredibly terrible news for Canada. I'll be very frank. Trump is a very mercurial person. He's unpredictable. We know that. He's got bouts of temper and so forth. But that doesn't matter. We're not psychologists. We're not here to diagnose or to try to deal with his personality and so forth. What our strategic interest is, Canada's strategic interest, is to have a trade agreement with the United States and not to run ads to basically criticize the American administration over policies we don't like. And so I think that this was a very, very serious mistake by Premier Ford. I'm not trying to excuse Trump. That's not the issue. Mm-hmm. But a subnational government, not the national government that is responsible under the Constitution for treaties, a subnational government called the Premier of Ontario ran ads in the United States to influence American voters about American public policy and the American president. And the Americans have long been sensitive about this. Just one more quick point, Anne-Marie, because it really does reveal this. In 1965, because this is not the first time an American president got very angry at us. In 1965, Prime Minister Lester Pearson gave a speech at a university in the States, I think it was in Boston, criticizing and condemning the U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War. President Lyndon Johnson, the Democratic president, was so angry. He demanded that Pearson go down and meet him at his ranch in Texas. He did. And Johnson, who was 6'5" and Pearson was 5'5", apparently, this has been well reported in the biographies and so forth, he picked Pearson up about 2 inches from his face and so said, "Don't you dare come in my backyard and start peeing in my backyard." That's a direct quote of Lyndon Johnson. So they're very sensitive about other countries going into the U.S. to start influencing and trying to talk through ads and so forth American voters. I think it was a huge mistake if we believe our strategic objective is to achieve a trade agreement.
I can't imagine the phone calls back and forth that have been happening both on this side of the border and the other side, but that's what's important. Terminated doesn't necessarily have to mean over, but let's also put this in the context of January. A couple months from now, we are supposed to officially start the renegotiation of CUSMA. So could this be a pause until those officially start? Or is Dominic LeBlanc on the phone with his counterpart in the U.S. frantically trying to still work something out this morning?
I'm sure that the federal officials, from Dominic LeBlanc to Prime Minister Carney, are working furiously behind the scenes to try to calm, these very, very angry waters. I'm sure they're doing everything to cool down the rhetoric, to reduce the anger. This, as I said, was not a helpful intervention by a sub-national government that is not constitutionally responsible for treaties. That means Ontario or any province. And so I think you've got a point that the U.S. may use this as an excuse or a justification to punt the current discussions to the January commencement of negotiations on CUSMA. That will be unfortunate for us for one simple reason, and it can be captured in one word: uncertainty. And businesses abhor and hate uncertainty. And what do they do when things are uncertain? Pull back. We'll postpone our decisions to build new factories, to build new plants. And that's the last thing we need in our country right now is uncertainty. We need a lot more certainty, not uncertainty. So hopefully the Prime Minister Carney can get the wheels back on the bus and get negotiations going again. But if not, I don't think the game is completely over. We still may pick these negotiations up in January. But one more quick point, Anne-Marie. I do believe the biggest loser last night and this morning, out of if we do a sort of an up and down, who's up, who's down, I think the biggest single loser was the automotive manufacturing industry in Southern Ontario.
Ian Lee, not the morning we thought we were going to wake up to today, but we're so glad that you're here and available to us. Yeah, the biggest loser, you said it well. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks very much, Anne-Marie.